We are working on GMetrix Excel Core Skills Review 3. The first task asks us to go ahead and format range A5 to D106. And what it wants us to use is the center horizontal alignment. So we just want to click this. Task 2 wants us to go ahead and insert a header into this document. So what we want to do is go to the Insert tab here at the top, and over here in the text group we'll select Header and Footer. And it says on the left side it wants file name, so we'll click in there and click file name. And then on the right hand side it wants us to put the sheet, so we'll go ahead and put the sheet name here. We'll click out. Task 3 wants us to go ahead and put a footer at the bottom. It's a little bit different than what you've done in the past. We'll click insert here at the top. We'll go ahead and click header and footer just to get into the header and footer design tab. We'll go ahead and actually select go to footer just so you can see what we're about to do. And then header and footer over here on the left, we want to click the footer drop down, and it wants the combination of author, page number, and current date. And so we'll go ahead and select this one right here. And then notice it went ahead and pre-populated all three sections based upon that, instead of just individually selecting each element. Task 4 wants us to go ahead and remove some personal information from this document. So we'll click File to go to the Backstage view. We'll click Check for Issues, Inspect Document. With all of that checked, we'll go ahead and click Inspect. And it wants us to remove comments and annotations, so we'll go ahead and do that. But then it also wants us to remove personal information and document properties, so we'll go ahead and click this one as well. Click Close. Click out of the Backstage view. Task 5 wants us to go ahead and create a new sheet, so we'll go ahead and click the plus symbol right here. I'll double click. You could have right clicked and selected rename, and we'll type in the new sheet name, 2009 sales corrected. Make sure you capitalize the C. We'll hit enter to set the text, and then it wants us to place it in between 2009 and 2010. Task 6 wants us to go ahead and paste some values. So we're going to go ahead and select 2009 sales. We'll select A1 to G26. We'll go ahead and hit Control C to copy that range. You could have also selected here on the Home tab. And then what we want to do is go to the 2009 tab, and we want to right click here. Now you could have done paste and click the drop down, and all we want on this is the values. So we'll go ahead and select that. Task 7 wants us to go ahead and copy the formatting from 2009 starting in A1 to G26. So we'll go ahead and with that selected, we'll copy it. I'd use Control C, but you could also click this. And what it wants us to do is on the 2010 sales, it wants us to copy that formatting. What I can do is just right click here, and then you have a bunch of options, but what you want is the formatting here. Go ahead and select that. Task 8 wants us to go ahead and type Sunday in A2, and then what it wants us to do is to use a drag fill to copy the rest of the days of the week. So with that cell selected, I can go ahead and notice my cursor changed to a black cross. I can just click and drag down to A8, and notice if you look on the right side of my cursor, it says Saturday. Task 9 wants us to go ahead and type in January in B1, so I'll go ahead and type that. I'll hit enter to set the text. I'm going to go ahead and select that cell again, and then I'm going to put my cursor in the bottom right hand corner of that cell. Notice that my cursor went to that black cross, and what I'm going to do is then click and drag to M1, and notice it shows December. That's the final month it will copy over, and it went ahead and filled those in for me at the top. Task 10 wants us to go ahead and put some hyperlinks on the summary worksheet. So we'll go ahead and scroll down to this section right here where it says 2009 sales. And what we're going to do is go to the Insert tab here at the top and click Hyperlinks. On the left, we'll select Place in this document. We'll go ahead and select 2009 because that's what we're linking it to here. And we don't need to change the cell reference because it doesn't ask us to. We'll go ahead and click OK. And we want to do the same for 2010 sales. So we'll select that cell. We have still in the Insert tab here at the top. We'll click Hyperlinks, Place in this document, and this time we'll select 2010. Click OK. Task 11 wants us to go ahead and insert another hyperlink. So we'll go ahead and put our cursor here in the text. If you have any questions, please email the sales department. And what we want to do is go to the Insert tab here at the top. In the Links group, we'll click Hyperlink. We'll go ahead and type in an email address. The email address is sales@GMetrix Varigon.com. And what we want to do is also type in the subject here, sales summary, and make sure you capitalize both the S and both of the S's in that, and we'll click OK. Task 12 wants us to go ahead and copy some formatting, so we'll go to the flavor cost worksheet. The first thing it wants us to do is to scroll down to A27, and what we're going to do is click the Format Painter button up here, and just go ahead and click A1. Notice it went ahead and copied the font, color, and merged those cells. The next step wants us to go ahead and put our cursor in A28, and it wants us to double click the Format Painter. That way, when we click this first range that it wants us to select, A2 to E2, notice that my cursor still is trying to copy the format. It then wants us to go ahead and apply it to A3 to A25. We'll go ahead and hit Escape to close out of the Format Painter. Task 13 wants us to go to the Flavors Cost worksheet and format the data in the markup column to display as percentages. So what I did was I just left-click C to select the entire column. And what I'm going to do here in the numbers group on the Home tab is just select the percentage. Task 14 wants us to go ahead and go to the 2010 sales sheet, and it wants us to apply the heading 1 style to A1. So we're on the Home tab. We're in the Cell Styles group. Is just hit heading 1. Task 15 wants us to go ahead and go to the 2010 sales worksheet, and it just wants us to go ahead and select A1 to G1, and it wants us to go ahead and merge and center. We're on the Home tab, Alignment group, just click Merge and Center. Task 16 wants us to make sure that the column headings and the grid lines are both displayed and printed on the worksheet. So what we want to do is go to the Page Layout tab here at the top. We're in the Sheet Options, and we just want to click Print for grid lines and Print for headings. Task 17 wants us to go ahead and repeat our header, and it's row 4. So what we want to do is go to the Page Layout tab here at the top, and we'll go ahead and click the dialog box for page setup. We'll click Sheet over here, and rows to repeat at top. We'll go ahead and click this to drop that box down, and we'll just select row 4. We'll click this to drop it back down. Click OK. Task 18 wants us to go ahead and just hide a few columns, and specifically it's the fax, the extension, and the mobile column. So you could do this a few ways. I'm going to go ahead and select D here at the top by left-clicking D. I'm going to hold the Control key down on my keyboard, and I'm also going to select F and G. After I've selected all 3 columns, I'm going to right-click and click Hide. Task 19 wants us to go ahead and hide a few rows this time. And so what we want to do is find the San Diego satellite office. So I'll go ahead and click the 48 with my left click, and I'm going to select all of the data underneath of it to row 65. And then on the right hand side, I'm going to select any number. I'm going to just right click and then click Hide. Task 20 wants us to go ahead and set our print range to only have the Varigon Pharmaceuticals quarterly earnings. So we'll go ahead and select A1 to K27. We'll go to the Page Layout tab here at the top, and in the Page Setup, we'll click Print Area drop-down and click Set Print Area. Task 21 wants us to go ahead and change the page orientation. So what we'll do is go to the Page Layout tab here at the top. In the Page Setup group, we'll click the Orientation drop-down and select Landscape. Task 22 wants us to go to the 2010 sales worksheet, and it wants us to go ahead and select the range A2 to G26, and then it wants us to go ahead and make this a table. So we'll go ahead and on the Home group, in the Styles group, we'll go ahead and click the drop down for Format as a Table. It is a dark table, so we'll go ahead and select this one right here. If you're not sure which style to select, make sure you hover. Right here, it's just asking us to confirm the range that we've already selected. We'll go ahead and click OK. Task 23 wants us to go to the 2010 sales worksheet. And what we want to do is to do 2 things on this step. First, we're going to go ahead and modify a style. So let's go ahead and find that style. We're on the Home tab in the Styles group. We'll go ahead and click the Cell Styles drop-down. And the one that we're actually modifying is the title. So we'll go ahead and right-click our title style, click Modify. Here we're going to go ahead and click Format. And all that it wants us to do is we'll click Font at the top, change it from 18 to 24. We'll go ahead and click OK. OK. And then it wants us to go ahead and, after we've modified that, go ahead and apply it to A1. So still on the Home tab, Styles Group, Cells drop down, and what we're going to do is just select Title. Task 24 wants us to go ahead and open up a different workbook. We're going to go ahead and copy a worksheet from that workbook and place it in our quarterly earnings workbook, which we currently have open. So we'll go ahead and click File, Open. You're going to want to go ahead and map to your GMetrix templates folder. And the one you're looking for is the quarterly overview. We'll go ahead and shrink this screen so we can find this summary tab here. What I'm going to do is go ahead and right click here, click Move or Copy. And into Book, we're going to go ahead and change to quarterly earnings. And it tells us that it wants us to be the last sheet. So we'll go ahead and select Move to End and click OK. Task 25 wants us to go ahead and change the Summary tab to a red accent to lighter 40%. So what I'm going to do is right click Summary, click Tab Color, and we're going to look for that red accent 2, and then it says lighter 40%. So make sure you hover if you're not sure which one. Task 26 wants us to go ahead and split the view of our worksheet. So what we'll do is we'll put our cursor in A5 here, and we're going to go to the View tab here at the top. We're going to go ahead and click Split. Task 27 wants us to go ahead and use the freeze pane to make only the first 4 rows visible as we're scrolling through. So what we'll do is we'll put our cursor in A5, and we'll go to the View tab here at the top. We'll go to Freeze Pane in the Windows group, and we'll go ahead and select Freeze Panes. Now when I scroll down, those first 4 rows are always visible. Task 28 wants us to go ahead and change our view to Page Layout. And then it wants us to go ahead and hide rows 2 and 3. So on the left-hand side, I'm going to left click and then select both rows 2 and 3. Then I'll right click and click Hide. Task 29 wants us to go ahead and zoom the document and then save this as a custom view. So we'll go to the View tab here at the top. We'll click Zoom. We'll select in the custom 150%. We'll click OK. Then what we want to do is still in the View tab, we're in the Workbook Views. We'll click Custom Views. And we want to call this Page Zoom. Notice both P and Z are capitalized. We'll click OK. Task 30 wants us to go to the top performers here. And in cell B2, it wants us to go ahead and put a formula. So we'll put our cursor there. We'll click the Insert Function button. This is what they're looking for with top, is use the max function. So we'll go ahead and type in max, click OK. We'll click Go. And what we want to do is go to the 2010 worksheet, and we just want to go ahead and select that range. So it's going to look for the highest number in this group, and we'll click OK. Task 31 wants us to go ahead and go to the top performers worksheet, and we're going to determine the highest sales number in 2011, and that's cell B3. So we'll put our cursor there. We'll go ahead and click Insert Function here at the top. We'll type in max, click Go, click OK. And then what we want to do is in number 1, go ahead and go to the sales 2011, and we're going to go ahead and just select the numbers in column D, and we'll click OK. Task 32 wants us to go ahead and correct a formula that's found on the combined sales worksheet. And what we're going to look at first is D3. Now this is kind of a tricky question. Looking at this, I noticed first that we need to go ahead and add parentheses around this first argument, the subtraction, because they want that done first. The parentheses make sure that Excel does that calculation first. The other thing that I see is this is the wrong sheet reference. Now, I can go ahead and here I can type in here, or I could delete out this here, go to the sales 2010 and select D3 here. We'll go ahead and click enter. And that fixes our formula. For this one, notice that I still have to correct the rest of these. So I'll show you another way to fix this formula. We'll go ahead and put our parentheses in like we did before. But this time, what I'll do is I'm just going to change this right here to say sales 2010 apostrophe, oh, it's already there. And then I want to change this reference here to say D4, We'll go ahead and click enter. You could do that manually through each of these other rows, but what I'll do is I'm just going to use the drag fill. Notice I put my cursor on the bottom right hand corner of that cell, change to a black cross, and I'll just go ahead and copy that formula down. And because this is a relative reference, notice it changes the D column and adds the parentheses for me. Task 33 wants us to go ahead and insert a column and insert a title on the combined sales worksheet. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and left click E, and notice it went ahead and highlighted the entire column. From here I'm going to go ahead and right click on the E, and I'm going to click insert. Notice that all of the information that was in E was pushed to the right, and that is now column F. What I want to do is go ahead and add the title % total, and what I want to do is hit enter to set that text. Task 34 wants us to go ahead and do a manual formula on the combined sales worksheet. So what we want to do is go to that worksheet. We'll go ahead and put our cursor here in F3, and this is not a predefined function, so we're going to go ahead and manually hand key this whole formula in. And what we want to do is go ahead and hit the equal sign on our keyboard to start the function. We want to go ahead and select Elizabeth Sales, so we'll go ahead and select E3. We'll go ahead and hit our slash button to begin the division, and what we're ultimately going to do is select this cell because that's what we want to divide it by. We'll go ahead and select it, but this is a relative reference, and we need to make it an absolute reference. So there are a few ways to do this. You can manually hand key in a $ before the E and the 8, or if you go ahead and just hit the F4 key on your keyboard, notice it went ahead and put it through. I could keep hitting F4 and it will randomly put the $ in between just 1 or 2 or remove everything. And we'll go ahead and click enter. Now, the reason that those $ are important is because I'm going to go ahead and use the drag fill. Notice my black cursor. I'm going to click and drag down. Now, notice in this formula, the first one, it's E3 divided by E8. This one, it's E4 divided by E8. Notice that the E8 cell reference does not change, and that's because we changed it from a relative reference to an absolute reference by adding those $. Task 35 wants us to go ahead and fix the function in the overall column. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and put our cursor here. The first thing it wants us to do is to change this right here, this comma in between the two sums, and what we're looking for is a greater than symbol there. And then what we want to do is put our quotation around profitable and marginal, and then we'll go ahead and click enter. And notice it went ahead and fixed all of them for us. Task 36 wants us to go ahead and define a named range. Where we need to go is the commissions rates. And what we want to do is select the range A2 to C6. Now, there are a few ways to do this, but the easiest way to define a named range is once you select your range, go to the name box here at the top and go ahead and just type in bonus. Make sure you hit enter. And that's now a named range. Task 37 is a little bit of a difficult question. There's multiple parts to it. Let's go and begin by defining our named range. We'll go to the commission rates worksheet. We'll go to A2 to C6. What we need to do is define this range as the name bonus. So I'm going to go ahead and click on our name box, which is the easiest way to name a range. We're going to type in bonus. We'll hit enter key to set that range. Now let's go ahead and go to the combined sales worksheet. It wants us to go ahead and in F2, go ahead and type the name bonus pay and hit enter. It went ahead and copied the formatting. Now in F3 is where it gets complicated. We're going to actually use the VLOOKUP to find the bonus for each. So the first thing we need to do is go ahead and click insert function. We're going to go ahead and type in VLOOKUP here at the top. We'll click OK. The lookup value is going to be E3 for this. The table array is going to be our named range, which we just typed in, bonus. And then the column index is going to be 3 because that's the third column in that index. And then we're going to go ahead and click OK. Then what we want to do is copy this formula down by using the drag fill. There are a few ways to do it. Task 38 wants us to go ahead and use the sum formula to find out the total sales for quarter 1 for both 2009 and 2010. as well as quarter 2, 3, and 4 for each flavor. So in this cursor, I'm gonna put my cursor in B3. Instead of typing this formula in manually, I'm gonna go ahead and use the insert function button, and I'm gonna go ahead and type in sum. We'll click OK and OK. So my first number is going to be 2009 B3. I'm going to go ahead and hit tab or just click number 2, and then I'm going to go to 2010 and select B3. We'll go ahead and click OK, and it went ahead and added those two numbers. Now I could manually go in and do sum for each of these different cells, but what I'm going to do is just copy over the formula because they're both relative references. So with B3 selected, I'm going to put my cursor in the bottom right hand corner of the cell until I get the black cross. I'm going to go ahead and click and drag to the right E3, and it went ahead and it calculated those numbers for me. Now with that range selected, B3 to E3, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. I'm going to put my cursor in the bottom right hand corner of E3, and I'm just going to click and drag down to E25. And look, it went ahead and copied that formula for us. Task 39 wants us to go ahead and insert a chart. So what we're going to do is go to the combined sales worksheet. And what we want to do is we're going to build a chart based upon these sale numbers here. So we'll select E2 to E7. And there, I could select the A range as well. But what I'm going to do is click Insert. And I'm just going to go ahead and select Pi here. And the other part of this is to make sure that each represented is labeled down here, and notice it just says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So with this chart still selected, I'm going to go ahead and click Select Data here on the Chart Tools Design tab. And in order to change the different numbers, I'm going to click Edit here on the horizontal axis labels, and I'm just going to go ahead and select the names here. Click OK, and notice they went ahead and populated those names for me at the bottom. Task 40 wants us to go ahead and move this chart to a new worksheet named Sales Chart. So what I'm going to do is, there are a few ways to do this. I'm just going to go ahead and right click on the chart, and I'm going to click Move Chart here. Here I'm going to go ahead and select New Sheet, and I'm just going to go ahead and type in Sales Chart, and we'll click OK. Task 41 wants us to go ahead and just rotate this right here. What I'm going to do is select that. I'll go to the Drawing Tools format here at the top, and I'm going to, in the Arrange, click Rotate, and it wants us to rotate it 90 degrees right. Task 42 wants us to go ahead and do a few things. It wants us to select this Smart Art here at the bottom, and we're going to do two things to it. We're going to change it to the pyramid list layout, and then we're going to go ahead and change the style. So with that selected, we have the Smart Art Tools Design tab here at the top. And what we want to do is click the More Layouts here. It is a list. It is a pyramid, my apologies. And what we want is this one right here, Pyramid List. So we'll go ahead and select that and select OK. Notice it went ahead and changed for me. And then what I want to do is on the Smart Art Styles, we want to click the More drop down here. And then we want to apply the sunset scene. So we'll go ahead and select this. If you're not sure, make sure you hover because it will tell you what it's called. Task 43 wants us to go ahead and remove the background of the picture on the summary worksheet. So we'll go ahead and select our ice cream image here. With that selected, we get the Picture Tools format here at the top. So we'll go ahead and select that tab, and what I want to do is go ahead and click Remove Background. Notice it went ahead and changed that. What we want to do is here is click Keep Changes. Task 44 wants us to go ahead and just make some changes to this image over here on the right. So what we want to do is select the image. We're on the Pictures Tool Format tab here at the top. In the Adjust group, we're going to click the Corrections drop down, and what we want to do is sharpen the image by 50%. So we'll go ahead and select that. And then we're still in the Adjust group, and what we want to do is click Artistic Effects, and what we're looking for is the Watercolor Sponge. So we'll go ahead and select that. If you're not sure, make sure you hover. It will tell you what it's called. Task 45 wants us to go ahead and create a sparkline in L3. So what we'll do is we'll click Insert here at the top, and it wants us to use a line one, and our range is going to be C3 to J3. We'll go ahead and click OK. And then what we want to do is go ahead and just use the drag fill. Notice that my cursor changed to a black cross when I went to the bottom right hand corner of L3. I just want to copy that down. Task 46 wants us to go ahead and save our entire workbook as a PDF. So we'll click File, Export, and Create PDF XPS Document, Create PDF XPS. And what we want to do is make sure that this says PDF here. It doesn't tell us to change the name, but we do want to go ahead and click Options, because what we want to do is omit paid document properties and tags. Click OK, and we'll go ahead and click Publish. Make sure that you are in your GMetrix templates folder. Task 47 wants us to go ahead and remove the duplicate values in this table. So I'll go ahead and select the entire range in this table. What we want to do after we select it is go to the Data tab here at the top. And then what we're going to do is hit in the Data Tools group, click Remove Duplicates. And it tells us that it wants us to base this based upon year and value only. We'll go ahead and click OK. It tells us to remove 16 duplicate values. We'll click OK. Task 48 wants us to go to A2. And if you look here, it has a comment here. And what it wants us to do is go ahead and delete that. Now there are two ways to do that. You can go to the Review tab here at the top, or you can right click and just click Delete Comment. And then what it wants us to do is go ahead and insert a new one. So I'm going to right click on that cell A2 and I'm going to click Insert Comment. And the comment that it wants us to do is to type in redundant variance removed. We'll go ahead and click outside of that comment to set it. Task 49 wants us to go ahead and apply multiple filters to this table. So the first thing we want to do is filter category. What we'll do is click the select all to unselect everything. And just go ahead and select what it wants us to here, which tells us down here what we need to select. And then what we want to do is on the pharmaceuticals, go ahead and click the drop down for the filter, text filters. And then what we want is ends with. And we have two, so we'll go ahead and down here also select ends with and EX and LUX. We'll click OK. Task 50 wants us to go ahead and do a multi-level sort. So what we'll do is we'll select our range A4 to D106. Then we'll go to the Data tab here at the top, and the Sort and Filter will select Sort. And then the first one is Variant. Make sure you have My Data has headers, so that you can see variant, and then it says ascending order, so we're good there. And then also year. Click OK. Task 51 wants us to go ahead and select our range C3 to J26. And after we select that range, we want to go ahead and apply conditional formatting. So we're on the Home tab, we're in the Styles group, we'll click the Conditional Formatting drop-down box. And what we want to do is select Data Bars, and it says it's a gradient fill, blue. Task 52 wants us to go ahead and select the range C3 to J26. And what we're going to do is apply two conditional formatting rules to this range. We're on the Home tab, we're in the Styles group, and what we want to do is select Conditional Formatting, highlight cells, and then what we want to select is greater than for the first one, and it's going to be 200,000. And what we want to do is have the display with green fill and text. So we'll go ahead and select that one, and we'll click OK. We also want to go back and apply the second one. So we're going to go ahead and we have our range still selected. We're on the Home tab, Conditional Formatting, highlight, and then it's less than for this one. This time it's going to be 10,000, and just with a red border. We'll click OK.